I'm going to read you a story. A little story. Okay, not a full story, just a little bit of a story. The very first few pages of my book, Angel's Gate, which is available now. So you get to sit back and relax and have story time. I may die. This is the very first scene in Angel's Gate, so I hope you enjoy. Life wasn't supposed to move this fast, from birth to death so quickly. It was all too fast, too over. So many words had been left unspoken, so many questions still unasked, so many things still unresolved between them, but now there was no more time. One sentence had changed her life, shattered everything. 4 words, 1 death, and everything she had worked so hard to achieve seemed worthless. Your mother is dead. For A.G. Morris, those words had stolen everything. 4 words, and here she stood waiting for a flight to take her back to the one place she had never wanted to return. A flight that would take her home. No, it wasn't home. Not now. Her mother was gone. Around her was movement, life, sound, laughter. There shouldn't have been laughter. Shouldn't the world have stopped along with her own grief? The weight inside of her seemed to expand, compressing her lungs until she felt she couldn't breathe. The grief was so huge it should have compressed the entire world. But it didn't. The pain was only inside of her. The loss was only inside of her. She wished those words could be erased from her mind, that they could be taken back, that she could return to that morning when everything was all right, when it mattered that the sun was shining, that she was breathing. The words didn't fade. They didn't go away. So much time had been lost. There were so many things she had meant to say, so many apologies she had meant to make. Now she would never be able to apologize for words once spoken in anger. She would never be able to close the gap that they had both pretended wasn't there. She would never be able to forgive her mother for the abnormal childhood she had lived. She would never be able to ask why. Why an intelligent woman would carve spells into the window seals to ward off demons and to bind angels. She would never know why her mother had hated her father so much that she had never even whispered his name. Your mother is dead. A.G. closed her eyes and leaned her head back against the wall. The waiting area near the terminal gate was overcrowded. There were no open seats, but she didn't care. She didn't care that she was sitting on the floor, shoved into a corner between a stroller with a cranky 2-year-old and an early 20-something that smelled like weed. All she wanted was to turn back time. She would have done anything to be at home, in her own house, in her own bed, and not there. Anything. She opened her eyes slowly, hugging her knees. She watched a pair of teenagers walk across the terminal, heads bowed over their smartphones, but she wasn't really seeing them. She wasn't seeing anything. She was just waiting. Waiting for her flight, waiting to wake up from what she knew wasn't a dream. She was just... Memories of summers spent behind shuttered windows whispered through her mind, slipping past the barriers she had tried to erect around her heart. Memories of hours kneeling before an effigy of a serene virgin while her friends played in the sun. Memories of walking to Mass each day with her while her mother looked over her shoulder for angels in human form, angels who wanted to take her away. Memories in which spells were chanted like hymns while Barbie mermaids swam in a bubble bath, and she was 3 and still believed. Once, long ago, she had believed all her mother had told her. Once, long ago, she had believed that angels were real and that God existed. She had accepted these facts in her infancy and rejected them in her teens, rejected them when she had finally been able to see beyond the blind faith of a child and see the truth angels weren't real. God existed, maybe, but in an abstract way, not in the tangible sense her mother had believed. No one else had believed the way her mother had, and as adolescence gave way to adulthood, A.G. had seen all too clearly that the mother she had idolized wasn't infallible. She was merely human, and her word was not truth. And in seeing, had realized the life she had been raised to follow was a prison made of fear and zeal and religious fervor, a prison based on fantasy, the same fantasy that had driven them apart for so long, that had created this distance she would never now be able to bridge. At 18, she had walked away from a life spent hidden behind doors and windows inscribed with magic symbols. Walked away from the mother who had whispered spells beneath her breath like prayers, and who had held secrets never spoken. She had left behind her home, left her mother with words of anger and rebellion, words that even now, years later, she regretted with her whole heart. She had run away from the prison of her mother's making, rebelling not just with the need of youth, but the need for a freedom that had always been denied her. She had run away from the fear of her mother's religion had placed on her. She had run far, far away. And there you have it, the first scene in Angel's Gate. You should check it out and buy it. It's available now on iTunes and on Smashwords. Until next time, peace out.